there, Linda Goodall here. Believe it or not, you can make these jar lid covers without any artwork starting in Hatch. So what we're going to do is we're just going to use the tools that are built into Hatch and some of the designs that are buried in kind of hidden areas in Hatch to recreate this jar lid topper. This is what it looks like if we look at it in the software. You can see it's pretty simple. It's just a scallop shape with some leaves and some circles for eyelets, and then we have a nice border. This will go around the top of the jar lid. These are for either like a ball type canning jar or a Kerr type canning jar. They'll work for either one. So this will go right around the top of the lid. This will be on the side, and this is where we're going to lace our ribbon. And let's see how to make it. We'll start with a new blank document. I have my grid set to 10 by 10. I have a hoop set to 150 by 150, and this is just so I have a size reference, because otherwise, since we don't have any artwork, we could easily make this too small or too large. So I like to just turn on a hoop for that. And also, I have my hoop position set to manual, so it's not jumping around all over the place. So I'm going to start by creating a circle. So on the digitized toolbox, click the circle oval tool. I want to do a filled shape, and I'll just drag out a circle here. There's my circle. It needs to be 48 millimeters. So if I didn't draw it the right size, no big deal. I'll just select it, go up here and press in 48. You want to make sure that you have your lock on so it's 48 in both directions. Press enter, and there it is. I'm going to move it up to the top of my hoop, keeping it in the center. And now I'm going to make my scallops, and this is a really cool trick. So go to layout. I'm going to click on circle layout, and I want to have 10 repeats, and I want to make sure that mirror alternate is off. Probably doesn't make a big difference for this piece, but it will here shortly. And yes, we want to merge and make it one shape. There's my piece. I'm going to select it, O, and then I'm going to change it to an outline. Then I'm going to select just that part and get rid of it. So there's my shape. I'm going to do O again and H. Move this up to the top. I could turn this into my applique by duplicating this, making my placement line, my tack down line, my satin line, but it's not all that good. And the reason it isn't is, see, I've got these bunched up nodes here, there and there and there. And any place I have those like that, it's going to make the stitches weird. And I don't have a real even looking placement of my nodes. I can draw much better than that. So what we're going to use this for is our artwork. And I can't really take this and make it into an applique. So I can't like select it and turn it into an applique that way. But I can trace over it, and I have the perfect outline here. So let's do that. I'm going to start with a left click here, and then I'll right click, left click, right click. And all I'm doing is I'm left clicking in the valley, and I'm right clicking at the peak. And really, this is all the points you need. You want the fewest number of nodes because you'll just get the smoothest curves this way. And I'm going to stop right here and then just press enter. There's my applique. Now I'm going to press B on the keyboard, and I'm going to zoom in. And let's get rid of our artwork here. And you can see that this line is our placement line. And I have about 2/3 of the fabric, or 2/3 of the stitching to the outside of the fabric and 1/3 in. And the way I was taught was it should be the opposite. 1/3 outside, 2/3 inside. This style would work good if you were placing your fabric and trimming afterwards, but I like to use pre-cuts. So I'm going to select that, and I'm going to change my preferences here to about, we'll do about 60-40. So now I have more stitches coming in over the fabric, and I just think that helps grab the fabric better. So depends on whether you're using pre-cut or trim in place. I'm using pre-cut. So that's my preference. You can play with it as you wish. but it's nice to know that we have those changes. So let's zoom back out. And the next step is we need to place some guidelines. So whenever we draw in Hatch, we're actually drawing with stitches. We can't draw lines that don't have any stitches on them, but we can still make guidelines. And I'm just going to digitize an open shape, and I'm just going to have a single run here. And all I want to do is kind of connect these points so that I have some guides. And there we go. And these are just temporary. I'm going to get rid of them later. I also need to make some circles. The inner circle will be about 70 millimeters and the outer circle will be 108. So let's just draw a circle. And I'm going to press O and make sure that I've got that to the right size. Make that one 70. And then I'll duplicate, Control D, make this one, well, 108. And those are my guides. And these will help me with my placement for my buttonholes or my eyelets, whatever I decide to use, and the lid. So this will be the top of the jar cover. So I want to make sure that anything I have on the top goes in there. So now we want to get those leaves that we had out here. And I don't have to digitize those. They're already in here. And where they are is in the lettering and monogramming toolbox on the monogramming tab. So these are a bunch of styles that are built in that we can use for monograms. And if we slide down a bit, we can find the one that we want to use that's in here. And I'll just click it to get it out there. And this is now a monogram. Now, obviously you would want to change those letters to whatever you wanted if you were using it as a monogram, but we're not using it as a monogram. We just want these grapes. So first I'll start by breaking it apart. Get rid of the pieces I don't want. And here's my little grape bundle. I'm going to move it out here so that it's not in my work area. And I'll duplicate it, hold down the right mouse key and just drag it. Now I want to get rid of the grapes part. So I think I have to break it apart again and maybe ungroup it. There we go. And I'm just going to drag a selection around the grapes, delete that, and we'll change these to green and we'll regroup it. And I'll just move it into place. How easy was that? No digitizing. So there it is. I'm going to use the circle layout again. It remembers my settings from before, so I don't even have to tell it how many I need. And just put it in place. And there's that. So next we'll do our eyelets. And to make the eyelets, we just go back to digitize, make a little circle, O, satin, and I'm going to make it about 8 millimeters because that's about the size for my eyelet cutter. And that shrunk the border there, so I'll change that back to 2. And I'm going to move it into place. Now I want my eyelets out here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a pair. Remember, hold down the right mouse key to drag a copy. And I want to have them set up so that the ribbon's going to come out of the matching hole here, go over, under, and then come out. So I want more ribbon showing. You can choose to place your eyelets anywhere you want. If you'd rather have buttonholes, guess what? They're already here. Go to the layout menu. There we have buttonholes. I'd probably use that one. But because my jar lid cover is pretty small, it's just kind of just getting over the edge. And this space here is that metal edge on the side of a canning jar lid. So this is where you'd have your eyelets or buttonholes. And I decided that eyelets work pretty well. If you have a bigger one, then buttonholes would certainly work better. So now I'm going to take my eyelets, group them. Let's give them a different color. Let's make them pink. And I will once again do the circle layout thing get them in place. And if they're not exactly perfect all the way around, no one's going to know, because once this is on your jar lid, you won't have these guides. No one's going to be able to measure it. And besides, once it's actually put on your jar, it's going to be all bunched up and no one will see it anyway. So there's that part. Next part is to do the top. And I just like to have that circle there so it helps me line up my jar lid cover when I put it on my jars. So let's put a motif on that one. And I'm going to pick a different motif. I've created a lot of motifs and I went motifs crazy, but I think I'm just going to use a candle wicking, and we'll go with a 4mm. I'm going to hold down the shift key and resize it just a bit. When you hold the shift key down, see how it sizes it from the center? And there's that part. So let's move that to the bottom of the sewing order. We'll move this to the bottom of the sewing order. Change it to purple. Move it in place. Now all we need to do is add our lettering. So go back to the lettering toolbox and I'll type in grape. I've actually never made grape jelly. I have made pepper jelly. And I use small script. We'll just leave it at the defaults there. I'm going to do a little shaping business on that and move our grapes up. Let's make both of those purple. Let's group those. And let's take all of our pink, group that. Take all of our green, group that. So do Control A, and I'm going to align all centers. Go back to our objects. I'm going to get rid of my temporary guides. And let's do a little coloring here. Maybe we want that to be a lighter purple, and maybe we want this to be the same purple. Oh, I made that pink, didn't I? Maybe make that white. Doesn't really show up on that. We'll leave it blue. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on 3D or true view there, and I want to just see, does it look pretty good there? And then I'll do my stitch player and play it all out to see if it sews in the right order. Now normally when we digitize, we work from the center out, and on this design we've actually worked from the outside in. Well, we'd have to get this applique down first. The reason we normally work from the center out is because we want to push the fabric towards the hoop. We don't want to be pushing the fabric towards the center of the hoop and have a little mound of fabric there. This is a pretty open design, so it's not going to make any difference whether you sew from the outside in, the inside out. It's very open, so there's room for the fabric to do its own thing. And we don't have a lot of push and pull going on here as long as you stabilize properly. Now you might want to have this part running last anyway, because let's say the next time you do strawberry jelly or cherry jam, you can change this and it makes it just easier to sew things when they're in the last order. So remember when we were doing the circular layout and I said to make sure that mirror alternates was turned off? It didn't make a big deal on these scallops, but it could have on these, and it could have on these, because here it would have gone left, right, right, left, right, right, left, and it would just been not sequenced optimally. But let me show you where it was a fun thing to do. So here's another one I did. I have cats, and I made a little cat treat cover, and this one I wanted my fish kind of flip-flopping so that they were kissing. And on that one I did have mirror alternates turned on. Here's another one I did for my dog, and all the bones are symmetrical, so it doesn't make any difference, and I want them all to sew in the same order anyway, so I had mirror alternates turned off. So that's just a little thing to know about. It's kind of easy to miss. I missed it the first couple times. So I think you can see just how easy it is to do things in Hatch without really having any digitizing experience at all, just by using the tools and the things that are already built into the software. So I hope this has given you some great ideas. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and please come back. Thanks.